welcome to PNACAC's second year of our College Counseling 101 webinar series. We're so glad those of you who are joining us live, we're so glad you're with us today. Know that so many of you are not going to be joining us live. You'll be watching this later because, like Palmer mentioned, we didn't know that there's a big training for you Washington folks today, so we're so sorry we missed that. Today's topic is on the screen. We're like the official title is Best Practices for Scheduling and Hosting College Visits at Your High School. My name is Ray Peppley, and I am one of the chairs of PNACAC's Professional Development Committee. And I'm joined by Palmer Muntz, who is my co-chair, and he's with the University of Alaska Fairbanks. As you might be able to see, he has a great banner behind him. And then I have Erin Jensen, who is our PNACAC tech person extraordinaire. Like, we would not be able to do this without her. So, thank you, Erin. And then we have, let me see, 5 others joining us who are just, that came to me, their names came to me from college reps, admissions reps who said, boy, these folks are just welcoming and great hosts, and we just think that they'd have some great nuggets of advice to share. So they thank you. Those are joining us to give us your advice and your tips. And I'm actually going to let them introduce themselves so that I don't mess anything up. So maybe we'll start with Jennifer. Is that okay, Jennifer? We'll start with you.
Sure. My name is Jennifer Fichamba. I am the College and Career Readiness Specialist at Foster High School in Tukwila, Washington. This is actually my 20th year doing college and career work. And so, and I appreciate being here to help you in any way possible.
Oh, thanks, Jennifer. And then anybody else want to jump on next?
Hi, I'm Marianne.Stephens. I'm at Shorewood High School in Shoreline, Washington, just north of the Seattle area. It's a large public high school. I serve just under 1,600 students, and I'm the college and career specialist, and love the college visit part of my job is always a pleasure. There's setup time, but it's always a pleasure.
Maybe Lucinda.
I'm Lucinda Peterson. I'm an associate college counselor at St. Mary's School in Medford, Oregon, just north of the California border. We serve students in grades 5 through 12, about 330 of them in our high school program. And this is my 4th year doing college counseling.
Great. And then Donna, we'll have you go next.
Hi, my name is Donna.Decker, and I'm the College and Career Counselor at Timberline High School in Boise, Idaho. We're a large public high school. We have just over 1,500 students, grades 10 through 12. And this is my 8th year as a College and Career Counselor and my 34th year as a counselor in the public school system.
Thanks, Donna. And then Alassane, we are so happy that you're joining us today. We need some nuggets from you as well as what goes well on the college side of things.
I'm happy to be here. Hi, Alassane. I am a regional admissions counselor with Eastern Oregon University. I'm based in Portland. Eastern is in La Grande, Oregon, so about 4 hours away. This is my about 8th year in higher education and admissions.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much, all of you. Well, we're just going to, actually, sorry, I missed a part. These are our upcoming webinars. Our next one is in October, and this one was about the Common and Coalition apps. I do want to say I'm having a little bit of difficulty finding an admissions office that can speak in the PNACAC region that can speak on Coalition applications. So it might be more focused on how we can support our students with the Common application. And I'm sorry that sounds a little wonky, that I don't really know who's going to be presenting in that, but that one's actually a little bit in the works. So more to come on that. Hope you can join us for that one. Yeah, thanks, Erin. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with some questions from our great panelists. And you guys just jump in whenever you feel comfortable. So I'd like to know, to my high school counselors, what is your experience in hosting college visits? What works? What doesn't work? How many you host a day? Do you have any struggles with getting students to attend? Those kind of topics. Anybody want to start?
I don't mind starting. I actually had my first visit yesterday and I had about 15 students. I probably should mention that my school is not a big school. I'm the only high school in my district. And so we have around 800 students total, and my college visits are open to all grade levels, 9 through 12. And I guess like I've been doing this for a while, so I've built relationships with a lot of different admissions reps. But if students come to me and say that they're very interested in a college, I will go ahead and just ask the college to come and visit my students, because often I have students that are interested in colleges from out of state and they want to learn more. And if there's reps available that will come, I'm happy to host them here. I usually try to do only one visit a day because I don't want it to be disruptive to classes. But I will do multiple in a week. So I have 3 next week. I'm right next to the library. My college and career center is attached to the library. So if the visit becomes really big, we can move into the library, which happens on occasion, but we can usually fit around 20 kids in my college and career center. And generally we are usually at capacity or beyond. So.
Well, I don't mind jumping in and just being on the other end of the spectrum. So being a large public high school, during the busy admission season, which is we're in the throes of now, I will have at least 2 a day. Sometimes I'll have more than that. So tomorrow I have 3. I have one at 7 a.m. So a rep who can't get into our school because they have so many schools in the Treasure Valley to get into said, hey, will you host me at 7 a.m.? And I was like, you betcha, if you bring donuts. And she is. So that was pretty cool. The kids are excited, and we'll have a full house. It's University of Utah. It's a popular out-of-state university for us. So we'll have a full house tomorrow morning at 7. Much better to do it before school than after school because kids have jobs and sports and everything else. So I find that works better. And then we host also at our break time. So I have another college at break, and then I have a college visit at lunch. So we, as per district policy, we don't excuse kids from class to come out for college visits or military visits or anything like that. So break and lunch is typically when we do those. So sometimes we have a hard time getting kids to come in, especially on the lunch visit, because they don't want to give up their lunch time. But I have a microwave. I let them eat in here. I don't care. So it's getting better with that.
Since I'm also at a public high school, it's kind of similar to what Donna said. We have generally have visits 2, sometimes 2+ a day, because sometimes I double book representatives that that for the college won't have a big draw, and so I have a space that fits like 34, and so we could have 2 visits going on, or there's a conference room that I can book. So we do it during our advisory period and during lunch, and I actually do a kind of how to apply series for seniors. And so we haven't started our college visits yet. So, because we have to use that same time period for seniors. So this week and next week, I'm meeting with seniors, and then we happen to start our college visits the week of September 25th. So it's usually like the 3rd week of school that we start ours. And attendance varies, and sometimes it surprises me either way, that I think a college is going to get 10+ students and there are 2, or I think a college is going to it just varies a lot, and it's hard to predict. And I find that this post-COVID, it's still kind of getting back to maybe where it was pre-COVID, because we used to have kind of better attendance. I think students are the students aren't as used to what was the norm before, since they're going, they're proceeding on. And so I would say we're still getting that, getting attendance back. And most visits we have in our career center. And on occasion, Seattle, that's 6 miles down the road and a huge draw. We have that in our theater because it draws that many students. And during our advisory period, we open our visits to grades 10 through 12, because 9th graders do some kind of orientation SEL things through the fall, and lunchtime visits are open to all grades.
I guess that just leaves me on the high school side. So we do visits, we'll do a maximum of 4 in a day, and we have 2 different periods of time during the day that are open. So 10 to 10:45 and then a 1-hour lunch from 1 to 2. So we'll host 30-minute visits 4 different times a day. Our visits are open to any student at any grade level, 9 through 12. Typically, they're most heavily attended by juniors and seniors, and we use SCORE to manage all of our visits. And so we really appreciate the notifications that SCORE does for us to remind students about visits. And then I email them individually as well to remind them that a school is coming so that our attendance can be what we would like it to be.
I don't know if you mind my jumping in. I see the question from Kay that like what the visits look like. And basically I greet the rep when they come. I send them kind of really good directions about where to park, how to come in, where to sign in, where to find me. And so I give them instructions via email or via SCORE for us. And so I greet them in the Career Center and usually chat with them. And then as soon as students start coming up, I just kind of back off and let them do their thing. They generally know what to do. And so many visits, I am very much on the sidelines, although I will sometimes jump in. We're, in the suburban Seattle area. And so if the school is in a different setting, I might ask the rep to explain the setting or a certain program that I know they have. And so, but in general, I don't participate very much in the visit itself, whether it's a small conversation or it's a larger kind of presentation style visit. So usually the reps kind of do their thing. And I would imagine they like that flexibility.
Thank you, Marianne. I was struggling unmuting myself to bring up Kay's question. That was such a good question, Kay. Thank you for asking. I think there was another one that someone had asked that's still on this topic. And
while you're looking, Ray,
yeah.
I just wanted to, and Alassane may have an opinion on this too, because we're coming from the college side. I just wanted to give sort of a little bit of reassurance to those of you who in high school offices. There's been some references to, we have this theater for, 100 students or this room for 35 students. As college reps, we're very glad to come and talk with 1 student or 2 students. That does not bother us at all. And in fact, I'll speak for myself, Alassane, you can weigh in. It doesn't bother me to come and not meet with any students as long as I'm able to get a few minutes with you, because often being able to share some information about my school that then you've got it in your memory bank and can act as a matchmaker for me with students is more than satisfactory. So I'm just saying you don't need to feel bad for us as college reps when you don't have a room full of students.
Thank you, Palmer. I remember as a new counselor, I remember starting with, like Palmer, if you would have arrived, I would have said, I am so sorry, Palmer. I don't have any students sign up. And I would feel like I was wasting your time. And then so many of you would say, no, it's okay. Even if I could just have a couple minutes of your time. That was so reassuring because I think we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have students to interface with. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to follow up on what Ray said, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because some schools have students sign up and some schools don't. And so we don't. We're a large public high school. I have all these other things on my plate too. And so there's just no way I can manage signups for everything. It's still a feature in SCORE, but I tell students they don't have to. And so then so it's flexible and it's just too much for me to kind of administer. And I let the reps know that's kind of the case for us.
And I think someone had asked about SCORE in the chat too, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. That's one of our topics to cover. But Erin just reached out to me and said, Ray, what about your poll? I completely forgot about that. I had created some polling questions. That would have been a great way to start this. So I'm so sorry, guys. Getting all my bugs worked out my first webinar. So Erin, yes, can we go ahead and pull up the poll question? Let's just see who's with us today. There are about 39 live. in this right now, 40 people in here. So just tell us where you live, how long have you worked as a high school counselor? I know a couple people in the chat were like, I'm brand new, so welcome. We're glad you joined us. And then what's my third question? And then, yeah, how many students do you support? So we're just going to take a minute for that. You'll probably be not surprised to hear this is my first poll that I've done in a Zoom meeting.
You're doing great, Ray. You're a natural.
I paid Donna to give me
She did.
props.
She pays me in coffee.
All right, we've got 81% participating. Looks like it's kind of stalled out, so I'm going to go ahead and share it with
Sweet.
everyone.
Thank you, Erin. Okay. Still have some. Oh, it's great to see some Washington folks in here, even during your big day of the big training day. And Montana, way to represent. So happy to have two Montana folks in here. So great. And then, yeah, several of you first year, 1 to 2 years. So great. So happy that you're joining us in these webinars. Man, a lot of you have some big high schools too. Great. Oh, thank you for sharing this. This is so great. A couple of you with some really large high schools. Boy, bless you. The ones that have over 2,000, that's the two of you. Holy moly. I'm sure you are so busy. Oh, thank you for completing that poll for us. I'll move on to my next question from my panelists, still on the high school side. But Alassane, you can please jump in at any time. You have anything you'd like to share? Okay, so let's talk about scheduling software. I think Marianne, had you had Naviance and now you have Score? Okay.
Exactly. And so we switched from Naviance, which is linked with rep visits, and we are using Score now. And I set up our visit schedule in Score, but I wasn't as quick to send an email to all the reps that I, have kind of, the contacts. And so there was a little bit of a glitch at the end of August because my contract doesn't start till right before school starts. And so that was a little glitch, but we seem to have recovered from that. And so, and as one of our frequent college reps said, I just check all the platforms. And so it really helps to have something like that because you can just put in your availability and you can add blackout dates. Like I learned the hard way that to not have visits on the day of the homecoming assembly. And so, blackout homecoming, blackout, holidays or days you have a special schedule, and then reps can just sign up and then you can kind of approve the visit. So, it's very handy.
And Marianne, I'm sorry, are both rep visits and Score available at no charge to any high school? Or
I think rep visits is free to high schools, even if they don't use Naviance, because it doesn't have to be linked. And Score, I'm not sure about the scheduling software, if that's available if you're not using Score, because we switched overall from Naviance to Score for kind of all of our, kind of college and career platform use.
I was going to ask about that. Could you share a little bit more about why did you select Naviance and then move to Score? So I'm also from a district that did the same thing, and same with Donna, and I don't know about Jennifer or Lucinda.
Yeah, I would say we just had a number of kind of growing frustrations with Naviance. I mean, 14 years ago, I was on the committee that kind of recommended that we adopt it, and then just had a number of headaches. And even though we're having uptime with Score, it does seem more intuitive for seniors. And so I think the application season will go a little more smoothly because the interface particularly for applications seems to be better and have less room for errors. and SCORE is very responsive to any questions. I usually hear back within an hour, and I don't get the like, oh, have you filled out a ticket yet? And so it feels more direct as far as support, as well as a little more thought out for how it works for students. And Navient started some data sharing stuff a couple years ago that we weren't thrilled about, and so SCORE seems to be better about that too.
Donna, do you want to share a little bit about why Boise District went from Naviance to SCORE, or your experience with both platforms? Because I feel like I'm starting to sound like I'm Debbie Downer about Naviance, which I think lots of schools across the nation are successful using Naviance. But just curious as to the pros and cons that you found between the two.
I think when I was in West Ada and Ray's district, before I moved over to the Boise district, we used Naviance. And when I came into Boise, we had been to a NACAC conference and met the SCORE reps. And honestly, I think that year, Naviance was going to charge us, instead of charging us $68,000 a year, they were going to charge us almost 90. And we went to SCORE and they were like, oh, if you do this by October, if you join us, it's free for the life of your contract. Sorry for everybody that didn't get in on the free deal.
No, we're not free.
Yeah. So we don't pay anything for SCORE. I just think it's way easier to set up. I think it's more intuitive. The kids like there's a mobile app to it, which my kids like. It's super easy for sending transcripts. I can't believe I'm so old. We used to do the old paper, we used to print them, put a school profile with it, and we had parents volunteer to fill out all the envelopes to mail hard copies of transcripts. So being able just to upload kids stuff and hit a button is just amazing. And I usually set my rep visits up in July. So I'll do my calendar then. So when I come into school, I've already got a ton of, schools, colleges, because I know they're trying to book their flights and all that. So I try to get that done early so that they can get in here early. But yeah, we just found it to be much easier, and the kids like it. It looks very modern. The kids like it more. Naviance kind of started looking clinky and old, and yeah.
Can I jump in for a second
please.
there? So I want to kind of focus something in, but I also love something Donna just said. I'm curious, particularly for those of you who have used both rep visits and SCORE, just from the standpoint of setting up visits, not for the whole service of SCORE or the whole service of Naviance. I think probably some of our participants aren't SCORE or Naviance schools. They're using some other system. So they don't care about all that back end. They just want to know what's the best thing for scheduling. And then I'll shut up after I say this. As reps, Alassane, wave your hand if you agree with this. We love it when you have your potential schedules posted maybe before you leave in the spring. Maybe you don't want to work over the summer, or you post it like Donna said by July. Because when we hit about August 1st, we start scheduling. And just to be honest, if you want to have more colleges come to you, be on one of these two platforms, because we will, in the summer, if we have to email or call you to set up a visit and we can't get to you, we won't set it up. So we'll often sort of cherry pick those SCORE and rep visit appointments to start our schedule. Alassane, right?
Yeah, I was going to say I'll probably have 30 tabs open at a time for each territory and just kind of go through and see, can I book out this entire Monday through Thursday all in one area, and then move to the next week and kind of move my calendar around that way. And then the schools that aren't on there, not that they're a lower priority, but they just don't get booked as early on for me.
Because it's harder. Yeah.
And then, contacts change. And so you'll email your rep that you've had for a couple of years, and then, oh, I'm the new person. And then you don't hear back. And then it's just a lot of moving pieces.
So pros, cons from just the scheduling perspective of SCORE, rep visits, or other tools that are out there.
I think it's really similar for high schools, whether it's SCORE or rep visits. I mean, the interface looks different and the steps are slightly different, but it's the same idea. So I think it's equally easy to use for high schools.
I just want to give a perspective of a small school district that doesn't have a budget to do those kind of like programs, because they do cost money, and the College and Career Center in Tukwila, I have no budget. And so the possibility of having that as a resource is not likely. And so I don't want like a smaller school, like a smaller school district or a more rural school district to feel like that is like the only way you can get visits. I have probably 20 visits already set up, and it's not a problem not to have a system like that, just because your district can't financially afford it. I would love it if I could do that. It would make my work a lot easier, but a lot of the things that they've talked about that they do through those programs, like I can get kids to sign up through Google Forms and all of the things like that. And I have great contacts. Palmer is a great contact for me. And so you can do a lot of the same things, even if your district personally can't afford to have those kind of programs.
Jennifer, thank you for saying that. Actually, one of the reasons we invited you is we knew you didn't have one of those platforms. Number one, because you're amazing. And then number two, because we knew you didn't have a platform. So I'm sorry, it kind of did start out sounding like it was the Naviance and Score show. But I've been around long enough too, where I didn't have one of these programs, and you still reach out. Reps will reach out to you and schedule at your school. So thank you, Jennifer, because I also started to worry that people in this meeting were going, wait a minute, we don't have a budget. So thank you, Jennifer.
Just a reminder, as Maria put in the chat, you can use rep visits for free for scheduling. And I think you can use Score for free for scheduling purposes, but I don't know that for sure. Someone else?
And slate.org. Slate.org is free.
Oh, okay. There you go. Maybe so my district pays, and we're always looking for ways to save money. So we might be using that for free. Lucinda, did you have anything to share, or?
So we are like Donna, we got in on the ground level with Score. So we transitioned from Naviance and rep visits over to Score. We use it exclusively for everything. Every single student, as soon as they come into the 9th grade, gets a Score account, and we start talking about it midway through 9th grade. Our formal programming really begins in sophomore year, but we like kids to become familiar with the platform. Our kids also very much enjoy the mobile app. I actually went to the Score booth at NACAC last year and asked them why counselors can't have the app, because I do so much like around our campus, but the app is only for students. So don't try to sign up as a counselor because it won't let you. And unfortunately, the Score folks at NACAC were not able to give me an answer about why counselors can't use it. So I guess it's just for the kids, which is fine. I can show if, Erin, if you want to give me permission to share my screen, I can show what the Score calendar looks like if people are interested. We really like it because students can sign up for visits, and then that allows me to excuse them from 15 minutes of class if they're late. And it also lets me know who's actually interested in this school and who isn't.
Oh, thank you,
Lucinda, you should have permission, so go ahead and try.
Okay.
Thank you, Lucinda. This is great, especially for those of you who are considering maybe checking us out now that you've heard that this would be either Score could be a free option, or rep visits. I think they're all pretty similar.
So this is what our calendar looks like. You can see that here in a little bit, we have a rep from Pomona who is coming to campus. I have 9 students who are signed up for this visit. And one of the nice things about Score is that we can do blackout days. So I'm at NACAC next week, and so those days are blacked out. Our availability looks like this. Reps can click on it. They can say when they need to register by and where our visit is held, which is our Callaway Library. And then we also have virtual visits. So you can see that we'll be doing a virtual visit with Creighton University because they're in Omaha and they're not going to come to Medford, Oregon. But that gives us an opportunity to do visits with schools that our students may not be able to physically get to, or the reps aren't physically able to get to our school. And so that allows us to to have some other options, right? We're from a teeny tiny little town. And so all of our students want to get the heck out of our town and want to go to the big city. And so I reach out directly to those reps to say, hey, would you be interested in doing a virtual visit? I know there was a question in the chat about virtual visits. Typically what I do is I just come in here to our little office and I set up my computer. And I think one time last year I had like 9 students just like curled up in this little area behind us, talking with a rep from a school. And it's just a really great opportunity for them to connect with somebody who may not be able to be here in person. And the reps just do their same usual thing. They put up their little PowerPoint presentation and they, you know, put things in the chat and they ask questions and the kids ask questions and it works out really well. In terms of the one thing that I always think is really weird on the counselor side for SCORE is that to share the booking link, I just click this copy URL, but I can't actually view that. It looks completely different, I think, from the college side. And so if I were to click this link in my SCORE account, it tells me that the link is broken. And so maybe Alassane can show us or talk about what that actually looks like on the college side.
Oh, thank you so much, Lucinda. That is what I would have needed. I do have to tell you, if I can just mention this really quick, like I said, I've been here long enough where doing this job long enough where I was on that end where I was constantly emailing reps. We were back and forth trying to figure out when they could come. A lot of time spent in email trying to figure that out and coordinate with other schools at the same time and hoping you're not double booking. And if you can, any of the smaller schools that don't have a budget for this, if you could find that free option that was mentioned today, I think you'll find it's such a time saver for you. It really makes it a lot easier. So
can I too just jump in really quick, Ray, and say one of the other things that's really nice is, so like next week I have Wash University in St. Louis coming to visit. And so because my kids all have accounts, I can go in under my college tab and or under my student tab and say who's got, who's following or applied to Wash U. And then just to make sure I had kids, so the college reps should be happy about this, I emailed all of them on their school emails and said, hey, you're following that school and they're going to be here at lunch, so you should pop in to get good information. So it is nice not only to use it for rep visits, but also if you can get it as your college and career platform. If you're a Title I school, I think it's free, so that you can get that for free. And then it is cheaper than Naviance, or at least it was. It may not be now because now they're all highfalutin, but back in the day they were a little bit less expensive than Naviance. But it is a nice way to have an integrated system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Donna. I think the colleges or the platform reaches out to students too, I think a student has told me that a college rep has reached out to her because that student was following the school in that program. So thank you.
There was a question here about whether I think the question was, do the colleges prefer one platform over another? Alassane, do you have an opinion on that?
For me, they look I actually pulled it up right now. It looks very similar on our end, so I have no preference. I think the one caveat that I would say is just making sure that it's updated. Because I know we mentioned blackout dates earlier, but I'd really emphasize those, because there's been times where you'll email, you won't get a confirmation back until the morning of the visit, or they'll decline the event the morning of. So just keeping it updated, that's really the only thing, but they look very similar to me.
And I was going to say, I don't think that I have a huge preference, except to say that my preference is for rep visits because there are more high schools on rep visits than on SCORE. And so I can more efficiently work through them. My first place I check is rep visits. Then I go to SCORE. Then I go to Maya Learning, and I sort of work down a list. Another thing, I put this in the chat, but for those who are watching it on recording, they won't see the chat. If you want to use Calendly or Sign Up Genius or something, yeah, that's totally fine. But a recommendation I would have is on your college counseling webpage, put a link there to your scheduler for the college reps to find, or put it on an auto reply during the summer or something like that. So if you have a sign up genius, but we don't know about it, it doesn't solve anything really.
Well, I'm actually going to transition to getting Alassane a little bit more involved in this. Thank you for sharing some thoughts on the things that we were talking about so far. But what I want to know from you, or what we'd like to know from you, is what are the most productive visits before school, during lunch, after school? And I know probably the best is during class time, but if like Donna had said, their school policy doesn't allow that, what would you recommend to us?
Yeah, I would say for me personally, it's been very hit or miss with lunch visits. I think it really depends on the kind of college going culture in the school. So if students are excited for college visits during lunch, they're awesome, and that can be 10 out of 10, we'll do again. But also it's sometimes the college visit gets treated as a second afterthought. So if students happen to be walking by and you're in a cafeteria and students are like, what's this? Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go get my lunch. So it really, for lunch visits specifically, I would say kind of thinking around how we're talking about it before and like leading up to the day, reminding students that, hey, this is a school you might be interested in. They're going to be here today or tomorrow at lunch. So maybe get lunch early in line and then come to the college center. Yeah.
You know, it made me think of something. Have you been at a table out in a hallway or in the lunchroom? And then you've also been in a career or college center. Which one is a little bit more?
The College Career Center, or even like a separate room or area from the lunchroom, because the lunchroom gets very hectic very quickly, and different groups of students are passing through. Maybe it's lunch A for this group of students and lunch B, and that transition time might be useful, but just a separate space that's not a student spilling chocolate milk on my tablecloth 2 feet away. Yeah.
What about a hallway that's outside the career center? Do you like, or the college or career center, do you like kind of being visible in a hallway, or is that not helpful either?
I would say at least for my institution, a lot of students haven't heard of us before. And so if they're already in the momentum of walking to or from point A to B, they might kind of give me a glance and maybe take a brochure. They'll always take the free pens. They might, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe like a 3 or a 4.
Oh.
Hallway visits, at least for a small institution like Eastern that students don't have that FaceTime familiarity with, it's probably not the best for us. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate that, if it's a lunchroom type visit where you're just setting up a table, I feel like all I'm doing is just putting my name in front of students, and there's some value to that. But if there's let's say another school in the area that would offer me a more intentional opportunity to connect with students, I'll opt for that. The other thing I'll just mention is, as we look at a lot of schools that only do lunch visits, they're sometimes asking us to come in for 2 or 3 half-an-hour time blocks, and there's gaps in between. And real quickly, as we're trying to get to as many places as possible, we find we're having to give an hour and a half or 2 hours to one school, and that's sometimes hard to do. I think the number one thing I love is when a school is able to offer us several options during a day, even if they may only bring in one college a day, so that as we're trying to get to 4 or 5 schools during that day, we can do that.
And I just to toss in there too, as far as like things being intentional for the college and career counselors and counselors on our end. What I tell my kids, so I just met with all my seniors, all 500 of them last week. And it's like, I really, really emphasize to them how important it is that they come and meet the reps from the colleges that they're going to. Sometimes those reps are the ones who are reading their admissions essays. So for Oregon State, for us, that's kind of a big school. That rep reads their essays. And I tell the kids, them putting a name and a face together when they see that application is super important. The reps can also tell you about scholarship opportunities, housing, things that I can look up online, but it's not going to be the same depth of information that they can get from the college reps. So I tell them, if it's a school you're interested, get in here and make sure that you're chatting with them. And that has made a huge difference at our school, where most of the time I have multiple kids in here visiting with those college reps.
Can I add on to that? I think that I say the same things to my students, that it's really important for them to get to know the admissions reps. A lot like University of Washington, for example, our admissions rep is who reads their personal statements and or reads their whole college application, not just their personal statement. And so I really encourage like my 9 through 11 students to also come, because I've had the same admissions rep for several years. And so building that relationship is really important for our students, especially in a community like mine, where it's a really low income community and we're a minority majority school. We have a lot of immigrant students and refugees. And so being able to like talk about like have that connection with their admissions rep is really important. But I also invite my admissions reps to other kinds of events that aren't particularly just them coming in to talk about their school. I have a really good connection with both my University of Washington rep, but also my Western Washington University rep. And they've come in and read like personal statements for like a senior night. And it's just such a great opportunity. I also have hosted like senior mornings where the College and Career Center and the library and a couple of senior teacher classrooms are open, and kids, we just meet them where they are in their process for applying for college or their post-high school career. And I invite my reps, my local reps specifically, in to meet with them then. And so they're just getting a lot of different kinds of FaceTime. I personally agree with the admission reps on the call that lunchtime visits aren't always like beneficial unless it's being held in the College and Career Center. I feel lucky because I have no policies in place that say they can only do visits during advisory or during lunchtime. Like I feel blessed by that, because I personally think lunchtime is actually in my school the worst time for a visit. And I think actually mornings work the best for us. And so, but I try to find different ways to bring admission reps in if they're available to like meet with students. So they're getting a lot of different FaceTime for them.
That's great, Jennifer. Thank you for sharing.
Ray, if I could just pop in for
Yes,
just a second.
100%, yes.
We have a modular schedule system that looks pretty wonky if you're trying to apply in anything other than the Common App. And so one of the biggest ways we've utilized reps in the past is when reps from the Cal State system or the UC system come either virtually or in person, we just have kids bring their laptop and say, hey, I'm trying to do the Cal State application, and how do I report this information? Or those A through G courses in the UC system, how do I report that information? And we've had some really great success utilizing specifically our Cal State reps to sit with students and actually work through the application in person with them.
That's great. I think just throw in really quick, I had a college a few years ago that came to my other high school I used to work at, had a pretty large art program, and this was an art college that came in and just said, I just want to meet your students and just look at their portfolios and give them some advice. And those students weren't necessarily going to that art college. So that's kind of like you were talking about, Jennifer. It's just great when we can get them any kind of interface with a rep. So this is good stuff, you guys. I'm feeling bad for the people that are gonna have to watch this, that will watch this later and can't see the chat. So some folks had some great comments in here. I think, Palmer, you might have mentioned how you had a high school counselor stand by you at a lunchroom or hallway visit. So those who need to use, that's their only option. I think
Yeah,
that's
if you have the time,
idea.
if you have the time in your schedule to even for part of the lunchtime stand with us, that can be a time for us to share updates with you. But also what's been nice is, the students.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see a kid, not making eye contact with me, but really they should be brave enough to come and talk.
Yeah.
You can corral them.
Yep.
So that's been nice. And it can be just an informal time to chat between the two of us as well. But it's time intensive. I understand that. So
yeah, that's great. Jennifer, you had shared that you have snacks in your career center. That's awesome.
Well, that's because we have programs like Gear Up and Trio and like Upward Bound programs. I mean, because I don't have a budget, but they provide me with that opportunity. And so, and they go fast. I mean, I do buy my own snacks as well, but yeah.
But they help supplement for you. So
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that, because there could be a new counselor in here that has those programs as well and didn't know that that could be an option. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know all of us have students coming in not eating lunch, so it's a great opportunity for them. I don't think somebody can chime in if I missed anything else. But I think I had one more question for Alassane, and that is just, it wasn't in one of the questions I asked you previous to this, so sorry if I put you on the spot, but if I could say, like, if the question was, I like it when a high school counselor does this, like, lets me know if there's going to be a fire drill ahead of time, has my cell phone number, and I don't know, because you guys, you share your cell phone numbers, don't you, on
I share my work cell in
work
my
cell? Yes.
signature. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we called you to say, oh, we had this happen. Okay. Or what else was I thinking of? Or no, maybe you walk into the building, they have a TV and you see your school advertise, the visit advertised. What other things would?
Yeah, those are very helpful. I do reach out. So if I have a list of contacts at a specific school, I'll reach out to them. Maybe if it's a visit on Thursday, I'll reach out Monday or Tuesday, letting them know, hey, quick reminder, I'll be at your counseling center this week. But even just that in-person reminder that you can give them the whiteboard in front of the counseling center with all of the visits for the week, that is very, very helpful. So students in passing can kind of absorb it by osmosis, even if they don't attend, like, oh, I had soccer practice or something that came up. But you were at my school last week. I wanted to reach out with this question. I'm just letting them know that we were there and we're in the area and that we're looking to connect with them. That'd be the whiteboard is 10 out of 10.
Yeah, excellent. You know, something that I've noticed that's helped my rep visits attendance is I send out newsletters to my families, and I'll list, these are the schools that are coming, will be visiting. Here's the sign up. I used to have a sign up to a form, and the parents often sign their kids up. And I think it's because the students aren't always paying attention. So the students say, hey, I see University of Alaska Fairbanks is coming. Remember, Johnny, that's one of the schools we've talked about. So parents are super helpful because they keep their kids kind of on track. And also I want to mention, Palmer, something that you did this week that I've never had a rep do before is when you reached out and said, hey, just a heads up, or just let me know if things have changed and I can't come on this date that we previously set up. But I like how you had the little kind of a little blurb about University of Alaska Fairbanks. So I could then have that in my announcements or in my letter. I thought that was pretty clever. So thank you. Instead of us like finding the information and putting it together ourselves. So
well, and I was going to say the other thing we do is I have a college and career Google Classroom for grades for each grade for three of them for 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then I post on Friday after school, I'll post, here's next week's college rep visits. And then it stays in their Google Classroom, as well as on the announcements on my whiteboard, in the newsletter. So I'm like, holy moly. But anyway, that the kids do not come by and pick up paper anymore. So everything, scholarships, anything rep visit wise, all goes in the Google Classroom. And that's been the greatest thing that I've done as far as getting information out to kids.
thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
Can I add on to that? I also have a Google Classroom for just seniors and then also 9 through 11, but that is definitely beneficial. But we also have advisory Google Classrooms. And so I post it there as well. And then we do morning announcements. And so they get posted announcements. Plus I send emails to all my students. And so they're getting like multiple touch points on if they don't use one of them well, they're going to get it in another way. And then I use also Google Forms to have them sign up.
We also use kind of a scattershot approach and use multiple, morning announcements, emails to families, and also, and I don't know if you can see it, I have behind me there's a QR code to our list, to our schedule, and so I have those around, and an actual list outside the Career Center that we try and keep updated. And so, students they vary. Like some like to see it on the board outside the Career Center. And I have a computer that kind of runs a slideshow. So I put slideshows in there. Some years, especially during the pandemic when we were mostly virtual visits, I asked the reps to share a square kind of Instagram ready image, or I would make them if I didn't receive them. And so would keep our Instagram, kind of going. And so you kind of have to try a lot of things for your students, especially if it's a large school.
Thank you, Marianne. Erin put something in the chat that I wanted to mention. So she said she likes it when a counselor introduces her to an interested student by email. That's a great idea, Erin. And she also likes it when a counselor tells you where to park, and if there are any quirks of getting into their school or office, if this is the first time the rep has visited the school. So Palmer, I've heard him tell his peers that if you don't know because there's a gazillion doors, if you don't know which door to enter, look for the flagpole, and that's the front door. That's great advice. Let me see, any last questions?
I was hoping I could answer
Yes.
Catherine's question, because obviously fall is kind of four-year college visit season. And so what we have done is then have like a week or two of military visits in December when the four-year college visit season calms down, and then have local community colleges, career training, apprenticeship programs come in kind of winter into spring. And for those, we generally don't use scheduling software because those, they aren't as used to it. With the exception might be some of the local colleges, but they generally don't. So we just kind of arrange those, and we don't host as many visits during the day. And those visits are more often kind of a lunch table type visit. The military seems to really like the table that's in the, the main hallway where all the students have to pass by to the cafeteria. And so we almost have like seasons of visits, and that seems to work well for us rather than trying to put them all together, because it's hard enough to fit in the four-year colleges that want to come and that we're inviting in the fall.
That was a great question, Catherine. Does anyone else have anything to comment on that? I just want to mention, go ahead, Donna.
Oh, I was just going to say, with the hand schedule, like our military and any, like the trade schools, our community colleges are on score, so that makes it easy. But in the fall, I just let the military come once a month. They would like to come more, but it's too busy with the colleges. And then if they want to come twice a month after Christmas break, I let them come twice a month when the college visits have kind of tampered down a little bit. So
yeah, I do the same. My military partners come once a month, and it's always like the second Tuesday or the third Thursday. So I know when they're coming, and they're actually in the lunchroom. So I'm sure sometimes they come into my career center and see like Alassane is in there with students, but they're in the lunchroom with the masses. But that's how we accommodate the monthly visit. But then if they want to meet with a student individually, I suggest that they meet in my room in the career center, because I just want to be a fly on the wall. Not, and trust me, a huge fan of the military, but I just want to be there too to support my students, just like I do with my admissions friends. So I think we want to be cognizant. We have 5 minutes left. If there are any last minute questions or anything. Addie asked if anyone has college military set up at basketball, volleyball games. I can say that at my school, our military partners have asked to come to football games mostly, because that's probably our most well-attended sporting events, and they go through our activities director for that. But yes, we've allowed them to come to our events. Anyone else?
We really just have them table at lunch. We've had a problem with a couple of our recruiters. And so like I'm very limited on allowing them, and we have to have like a very like strong conversation, because being like a minority majority high school, they target a lot of our Black and brown students, and I've had racist comments from recruiters, and so I have conversations prior to even allowing them on campus. And I've had recruiters also be inappropriate with some of my girls. And so I don't have like, I'm supportive of kids that want to go in the military, but I've had like kind of hard time, like a difficult time with our military recruiters. And so we definitely have a conversation before I even let them on campus, because I want I want it to be a positive experience, and I want the kids to have the opportunity to learn about it, but they also need to be held accountable for their behavior. So
100%, Jennifer. I'm sorry that's happened to you. I haven't had those experiences. Oof. Anyone else have?
I was going to mention, just for, if particularly maybe if you're in the Puget Sound area or the Portland area, if you were interested, there might also be opportunities to sort of host mini college fairs during your day. And actually, you could reach out to either me or to Alassane if you had questions about that opportunity, where you might be able to have just 4, 5, 10 colleges come in for a period or for a lunch to expose your kids to some of the breadth of opportunities out there in higher ed.
Yeah, I really enjoy the mini college fairs, especially if a lot of students haven't heard of small Eastern Oregon, but even if it's a bunch of small schools that they haven't heard of, it's at least a room full of college going energy and kind of getting them in that thinking mode of, oh, what do I want in a school? What am I looking for next year or the year after? So many college fairs.
We've done those virtually, where we'll get 3 reps from 3 small private liberal arts schools, and they can talk about ways that they're similar and ways that they're different. And then oftentimes when we have public university reps, like our Oregon State rep or our University of Oregon or Portland State, they'll all kind of come like in consecutive days or the same day, and then students can kind of compare and contrast right there with the rep.
Oh, thank you all. Erin's going to bring up our last slide for the day for this meeting. And oh yeah, so Slack is a new program that I'm hoping, Erin, would you like to talk a little bit about Slack? I'm so new to it.
Sure, absolutely. So one thing that we're trying with these series of webinars for both the college counselors on the high school side and our similar webinar series for college reps is we want to continue these conversations and the networking that we're finding here. And we're doing that through a platform called Slack. Some of you may use it or have heard of it before. And so you'll be getting an invitation as an attendee to join our PNACAC Slack. And there will be a private channel for all of you who've attended. And then there will be some more public, everybody can join channels for things like SCORE users or people from Idaho, or like there's different ways that you can connect with other PNACAC members, share resources and tips, and get to know each other. So keep an eye out on your email from that, and we'll see how it works, and we'll see if it's a good way to keep you all connected.
Thank you, Erin. I'm excited to explore this a little bit more. I hope everyone could join us for the next webinar, which is on your screen. You can see October 12th, tips for assisting students with completing the Common and Coalition app. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it might just be the Common app at this point. We'll see how that goes. And then maybe I can do it, I can bring in the Coalition app next year. But I appreciate all of you joining us. Alassane, thank you so much. Lucinda, Jennifer, Donna, and Marianne, you guys are amazing. Truly a gift to your students. And I appreciate all your tips. You guys are amazing. So thanks, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll see you in about a month.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining.